Hello, lovelies, me again. So we're on to another adventure. This is a little square that I just made. That's, one of those things when you're not really thinking about what you design, and then you're just designing, and the next thing you have a design. And it's just a sort of a classic floral type design, this what I like to do. So I've called this one True North. And one of the reasons I decided to make this, so I had this part in mind when I first started, was because when I finished my last project, which was the green tea throw, I had a lot of ideas of different sorts of things to do. I was thinking about a scarf or a throw. I was thinking about another blanket, possibly a sweater or bag, or, all these kind of ideas are floating around in my head. But when I actually got down to making some of the different things, other than the sort of floral blocks that I really love to make, I just found myself after a few rounds getting very bored, very bored with myself, very kind of disinterested in the project. And I know that I have to love what I'm doing, otherwise I literally can't do it. I'm not into crochet for the commercial side, specifically. So, like Pattern Central, where I'm going to make blankets and then I'll make sweaters and then I'll make this, that, or the other. I make what I feel like making. Yeah, that doesn't sound that, I don't know, maybe it sounds a bit selfish, but I I have to get joy. I have to get joy out of what I'm doing, or I can't do it. It's like I just can't do it. Okay, so I'm over explaining myself a little bit because I think you get it. So this part of the design was the in fact, let me just show you because I'm blathering a little bit now. But this was the sort of like original part of the design. So this is a small square, and this is also included in the pattern, as you know. And this is for the border. So I just like this very sort of simple thing. And, calling it True North was do the things that you love to do. Find your true north whenever you feel that you're a little bit lost. And it doesn't matter what sort of circumstances there are. It's good to just sit quietly for a moment and think about your true north. Where does your compass point for yourself? And it doesn't have to be big, grand things about your life, massive, big changes or whatever. It can be very, very small things and things in your life and how you run your day. And I was thinking, as I said, about crochet, and I thought, well, I need to stick to my true north when it comes to crochet and continue making my floral blocks and squares until the compass shifts, until my north maybe shifts a little bit off the axis, and I feel the pull to make something else. So for the time being, my true north is pointing still very strongly to the things that interest me, which is, of course, is the flora of my beautiful country, South Africa, especially the Western Cape. Actually, not even especially the Western Cape, because South Africa is just incredibly diverse and beautiful country, and it has, everything you want, beautiful shoreline, mountains, flora, fauna, and wonderful people as well. Okay, so if you ever come to South Africa, you will find it very difficult to leave these shores, and mostly because of the people. Okay, so now I'm sort of blabbering on a bit. So I made this in 3 different colorways. So these were just colorways I was playing around for myself. Again, I know that I've said time and time again that I'm going to be graduating to using cotton, but I still have quite a huge stash of acrylic, of I have the Shape Yes Color Crafter, and I also have Stylecraft Special DK. So this is Stylecraft Special DK. So if my colorways are a bit odd, it's simply because I'm using the colors that I have. Okay, so this is the one colorway. And then this one, which just shows you a little bit, it's a bit different. So when you do your centerpiece in the same color as the little border, you get a different feel to it, but you still have your little compass points to show you, point you to your true north, right? So that's was the other colorway. So I include the three colorways and the pattern for this small square in this bundle, as well as a little pattern bundle. And then this is the next colorway. So it's a little bit similar to this, and I'm going to be making a blanket out of this, but I'm not making it as a make along, you know. So you can just measure up, you know, how. Sorry, I keep on saying, you know, it's a very South African thing. So you can measure up the bed or the size that you want to make it, and then you can just add as many squares as you need to that. So the squares are 10 inches square, which is 25 centimeters. So it's 25 centimeters square. The small square is actually 6 inches, okay? And the reason that I made it 6 inches, so it's not 5 inches, is because to join, I wanted to give, I was going to put a border on, and the border would have extended the square to 12 inches, right? But I just left it right here because I wanted to make it exactly 20 rounds. So fitting into my little Virgo neat thing, you know, 20. So 20 rounds. This is 20 rounds. And now you would add, and I will add the border. The border is added to the text pattern, right? So now you would just do a border of double crochets, and that will extend your square when you've blocked it to 12 inches, right? And then of course you can fit your little square onto that then. Okay, so then you'll be able to fit basically two squares like that. But you can also, you know, I don't know what yarn you're going to use or what size hook, because you can use any sort of yarn, and as long as you're using the corresponding hook size. So, you know, you might have to just play around a little bit with the final stitch. For example, I've done double crochets here, but if you want to make it smaller, you can just do single crochets or half double crochets to make your border for your blanket. So this is a very much just components, and you can play around with the design of your blanket. You don't have to put all your squares together. You can have them spaced with a border down the middle, or you can put 4 squares together and then a flower border around that, and then, you know, build on that, and just have fun, you know, with the design and make it your own. Okay, so I think I've yada on enough. So again, I'm just using a DK. I'm using acrylic DK yarn, Stylecraft Special DK. Every now and again I might throw in some Color Crafter, but I don't think that I use Color Crafter anywhere here. You know, I've kind of mixed up all of the DK, the acrylic DK, so they all look to me they're all Stylecraft Special DK. And I'm using a 4mm hook, but of course you can go up to a 5. You can go down a size, you can go up a size, you can, you know, as long as your hook matches your yarn. This is an easy pattern, but it's got some fun twists and turns, because, you know, I don't want you guys getting bored, because this has to be an adventure. So this is the back. You can see the back, it's very busy, lots going on. If you think 10-inch square, and we have 20 rounds. So yeah, it's going to be fun, I'm sure. Right, so I shall see you. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. I don't think so. If you've done my patterns before, it's, you know, the same. You know where to go if you want to join our group. I've got all the information on the text pattern, and so on and so forth. So I shall see you at round number 1. For round number 1, I'm going to be following this colorway. So because I'm going to make a few blocks with this colorway, a few blocks with the other colorway, a few blocks with the blue, I might do another colorway. I have to see what colors I still have that actually go together. Okay, so this is the colorway I'm going to follow. And also in the written pattern, I'm going to list the colors of the other 2 colorways that I did, in case you want to follow any of them. Right. So now, first color that I'm using is Meadow, and we're going to be making 8. All right, so, you know, again, this is sort of for advanced beginners or intermediate crocheters who know how to make the stitches, you know, so you can always, you know, this is not a tutorial on how to make the stitches. It's basically just to show you, just to help you along if English is not your first language, okay? So now we're just going to start with, even now I'm getting all confused. Right, so we're going to start with 8 puffs. So we're going to work yarn over times 3. Right, sometimes I do these things so unconsciously that I forget how to do them. If I have to show somebody, I'm suddenly all fingers and thumbs. And then we're going to chain 1. So we're going to yarn over times 3, chain 1 to close. 1, 2, 3. And if I'm a little bit shaky, it's just because I had 2 cups of coffee. Coffee and me. We have a very odd relationship. I only have 2 cups a day, and I don't even have it very strong, and I think I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. But I do love my coffee. So I don't have many vices, but that is one of them. Right, so you're just going to carry on like that until you've made 8 puffs with the chain 1. So you're going to have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 8 chain 1 spaces. So I'll see you at the end, and we'll just finish this off together. And then to close, you're just going to work a slip stitch into the top of the first puff, and then we're going to fasten off. Now, my advice is that you work in your tails as you go along, but you don't have to. You know, I didn't. I think the tail I did work in was this one, and then I didn't work my tails in until right at the end. Very naughty of me. All right, so you've got 8 puffs into a magic loop and 8 chain 1 spaces, and I shall see you at round number 2. So we're on to round number 2, and for round number 2 we're just going to work double crochets into our chain 1 spaces from round number 1. So we're going to work 3 double crochets and a chain 1. So I'm starting with 3 chains, which is how I start. Very old-fashioned. If you can do a standing double crochet, go ahead. And then chain 1. And now I'm working over my tail from the previous round. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and 1, 2, 3. So you get the idea, right? So you're just going to carry on like that until you have 8 times 3 double crochets and 8 chain 1 spaces, and I'm going to see you at the end of this round and the beginning of the next round. Okay, so we are going to chain 1. So I've done my chain 1, and then slip stitch. I just slip stitch into the second double crochet for these sort of rounds, but you can work an invisible join, right? And I usually do that little double knot so things don't come adrift. And I have to say, with all of the blankets that I've made, and if you've done my patterns before, you know that there's a lot of independent rounds and tails and so on. So not a single one has come apart, and they go in the wash. Every couple of weeks they're in the wash, because the cats sleep on them, the dogs sleep on them. When we're watching Netflix, it's a big cuddle fest on the blankets. Okay, so and I think it might have something to do with that double knot that I do. So that is round number 2. So you should have 8. Did I say 6? You should have 8 times 3 double crochets and 8 chain 1 spaces. Right, and that is round number 2, and I shall see you at round number 3. On to round number 3. Round number 3, we're going to use pale rose. Now, I think I forgot to say that the last color we used was vintage peach. So I'm using the Stylecraft Special DK. This one is meadow, vintage peach, and now we're going to be using the pale rose. So what we're going to do is just flip our work onto the wrong side. So the wrong side is facing us, and we're going to work over our puffs, and we're going to work it's not a puff, it's just a yarn over times 2. So we're just going to do that. Right, it's as if you're working a puff. Then you're going to chain 1 to close and chain 1. And then again, so you can pull up a loop, 1, 2, so pull up 2 loops like that, chain 1 to close, chain 1. So it's kind of a little bit like a puff, but it's not a puff. Right, 1, 2, pull through, chain 1 to close, chain 1, yarn over, 1, 2. I suppose it would be easier just to say you just would make a two loop puff. Just but it's very tiny puff then. So yarn over times 2, chain 1 to close, chain 1. I'm just going to do the whole thing with you. 1, 2, chain 1 to close, chain 1. And don't pull too tight, just keep it nice. Keep your wrist nice and loose. 1, 2. One, 2. And then just slip stitch into your first chain 1 space to close, like that. Snip off your yarn, and again I'm doing that double thing so that it's nice and right. And now that's what you're going to get. Okay, so that is round number 3. So you should have 8 of those 2 loop thingy puffy thingies and 8 chain 1 spaces, but we're not going to use those chain 1 spaces, so it doesn't really matter. So but just to give you the correct stitch count. So I shall see you at round number 4. So we're on to round number 4, and now we're going to make some little loops. So what you're going to do is begin in any of your chain 1 spaces from round number 2, and you're going to make single crochet to begin, and the color that I'm using is the meadow again. Then you're going to chain 10, so you're not counting that one as a stitch, okay? So you've got your single crochet that you attach your color, and then 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you're going to slip stitch. So you're going to count. You're going to count 3 stitches from the loop. So not the one on the loop. So 1, not the one on the loop. That one. 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th one, you're going to work. So let's do that again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to work a slip stitch, right? Then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then again into the 4th chain, you're going to work another slip stitch like that, and then you're going to chain 2 and single crochet back into that chain 1 space where you began, like that, right? Then you're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to skip the next chain 1 space and the next 2 sets of 3 double crochets. So you're going to skip 6 double crochets and single crochet into the next chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, slip stitch into the 4th stitch, chain 2. So you only have the 2 chain 2 spaces, right? And slip stitch again into, whoopsie, the 4th chain down. Me all shaky with coffee. And then 1, 2, and single crochet into the chain 1 space again. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Skip that into the next single crochet. I mean in the next chain 1 space, single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch into the 4th chain down. Then 1, 2. Slip stitch into, it just doesn't have to be exact. And also I try and get both of those loops like that. And then 1, 2, single crochet into the chain space, then chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have to check that I am doing 8, because originally in the pattern I had 6 chains in this section, but I found it was just a little bit too tight. But if you have 6 chains instead of 8, and it's not impinging on the tension, you're not having it going underneath the stitches or something, then you can do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slip stitch into the 4th chain. 1, 2. Slip stitch into the 4th chain. 1, 2. Single crochet. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. and I just slip stitch into that chain 1 space, snip off, pull through. So anytime I'm pulling through and not making that little extra knot, and then just tie the two, your beginning tail and your end tail together. There we go. So now you're going to have something that looks a little bit alienish. Right, so now, okay, so you've got those little loops. So you've got those 3 little loops like that. As I say, they don't have to be absolutely perfect. Right. So it's going to look like that, very strange. And that is round number 4, and I shall see you at round number 5. On to round number 5, and the color that I'm using is cream. So just get my, it's a bit, unfortunately, the light is very bad in my workroom in the winter, especially in the winter. But I should be having a bit of sunshine in the room. The sun is now somewhere else. So for most of the day, my room is actually dark and I have to use my lamps and my lights. Okay, so now for round number 5, as I said, the color is cream. We're going to be working into our first loop. So we have those 3 little loops like that. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to be working into the bottom one, and we're going to work over the little arm of the loop or the leg of the loop on the right hand side like that. So we're going to be working 4 trebles. So we'll start with a chain 4, right, and just to get us going, so we're going to just remove the hook and into the next chain 1 space to the right from round number 3, we're going to just attach our chain 4 like that, right? Yarn over twice, and we're going to work another 3 trebles into that space. So we have 4 trebles into that first loop, that bottom loop. Then into the next loop, we're going to make 1 treble and 2 double crochets. I was already going on to the double crochets. So we're going to make 1, just get some yarn here, 1 treble and 2 double crochets. And then into the top loop, we're just going to make a single crochet, chain 2, and now we're going to mirror everything that we did on this side, we're going to mirror on the other side. So everything we did here, we're doing over there. Right, so we're working a single crochet, 2 double crochets, and a treble. Yarn over twice into our next loop. We're working our 4 trebles. 2, 3, 4. Right, and then we're going to single crochet into our next chain 1 space from round number 3. And so our chain 8 is at the back like that. So I'm going to do another one with you. So we're going to treble times 4 into our next loop, beginning loop, bottom loop, which whichever one you want to call it. And we're not going to do that. Nope. We're definitely not going to work them together. All right, so we're working 4 independent trebles. Right. Okay. And then yarn over twice. We're going to skip to our next loop. And we're working a treble. We're going to work 2 double crochets. 1, 2. See, I didn't want this to be too dense because I just want you to keep it a little bit lacy looking. 1 single crochet into the top loop, chain 2, and now again we mirror everything we did on the other side. A single crochet, then 2 double crochets into the next loop, 1 treble into that same loop, and then 4 trebles into the bottom loop. 3 and 4. And then skip 3 double crochets, there we go, and single crochet. Fine. Right, so it's going to look like that. So now you have sort of a little alien bunny, little legs. Okay. All right, so now you're just going to do another 2 of these, and then I shall see you at the end of this round, which is round number 5, and the beginning of round number 6. Okay, and to close off, I'm just going to do, as I did before, just slip stitch into the chain 1 space, snip off the yarn, pull through, and then what I'm going to do this time is, I'm looking for my, there we go, for my little darning needle. So I'm just going to go through here, like that. And then I'm just kind of cheating a little bit, just cutting across like that. See? So, oopsie, going a little bit off camera. But I just wanted to show you how I close off this side. Or should I say close off this round. And then just make a little knot like so. Right. And then work in the, okay, so you get a nice neat finish there. Right. Like so. So that is round number 5, and I shall see you at round number 6. Okay, so I'm just going to a bit slowly, and that'll be your back. And then of course you can just work in your tails. Now it's easy to just work your tails in along the bottom like that. Right, so I shall see you at round number 6. We are on to round number 6, and round number 6 I'm using the pale rose again. Okay, so now we're going to be making puffs and treble front posts, and we're going to be making a puff into the space, the chain 1 space in from round number 3, but between our 2 single crochets from round number 4, right? Like that. Okay, so we're working sort of from we're working in the back. So we're doing a yarn over times 4 puff. So we're working at the back of our work because it's going to do that, right? So the back is going to be in the front. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You can add another chain there if your tension is very tight. If you feel that 4 is not enough chains, you can add another chain. Right, and now we're going to yarn over twice. We're going to go all the way back to round number 1, and we're going to work a treble front post over the top of our puff. Now this is a little bit tricky, so try not to get any of the other stitches involved. You do get the hang of it, and the best thing to do is to use your fingers. All right, so use your fingers at the back to feel your way, like so. And then hold, I just use my thumb to hold down the other stitches and work a treble front post. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we're working a puff into that chain 1 space between those 2 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, chain 1 to close. 1, 2, 3, 4, or more. Yarn over twice. Okay, and we are working treble front post, and again you just need to feel with your fingers at the back that you're not getting any other stitches involved there. It's actually quite easy. So, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, and again we're working this puff. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over twice, and again. So what we're doing is we're just pushing those 2 strands, the 2 little strand puff thingies that we made there. All right, and we're also working, remember, don't involve your we're working in front of the chain, the chain that we did over here, right? The chain 8. So you're just going to kind of have to feel your way around, right? So we just feeling that with our finger, pushing that down with our thumb, right? Just making sure that we're not involving any other stitches, and making a treble. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, and again we work that puff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over twice. Okay, use our index finger and the thumb to help us along here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. To close, we're going to slip stitch into the top of our beginning puff, snip off our yarn, and now So it's going to hide the tails there. And it's going to look like that, right? And your little puffs. Okay, so you can just go ahead and work in your tails, and I shall see you at round, where are we? We're on round number 6, so I shall see you at round number 7. So that wasn't so difficult, was it?